The shooting happened right down Southwest 77th Avenue here in the parking lot of Pata's apartment building. And tonight, Miami-Dade police are searching for his killer.
Yeah, Brian Pata was a defensive star in the Miami Hurricanes.
He was going to be in the NFL in just a few months.
I said, what do you mean they killed him? Like, why? Why would somebody do this?
I was just coming home. I had just gotten home from work. And as I answered the phone, it was my mom. And my mom shared with me, "You haven't heard? Sydney is dead?" I just paused and started screaming.
When Brian Pata's mother got to the scene and she was told that her son had been killed, I mean, it was devastating. It looked like one of those scenes you'd see in a movie of a mother just wailing, and it was heartbreaking.
Give me my baby! Give me my baby! Give me my baby!
It was a scream of pain that was just coming from her soul, her gut. And I was like, oh my God, this is real. She hugged me, Edric. Sydney is gone. Sydney is gone. I was like, oh my, I started to cry so bad.
My son, very good son, never have a problem with nobody. You know, oh my God, it's gone.
You're watching the rawest of emotions. You're watching someone deal with a tragedy in real time. This is a very private, emotional moment, but it's being broadcast on live TV. And little did we know in that moment how much more devastating it would become.
Life has always been a challenge and obstacles of test of who I am and what I will become. My name is Brian Pata, and this is my story.
We're at the stadium right now. It's game time.
Brian Pata was larger than life.
What's up, y'all?
His aura, it just stuck out. He always gets everybody to kind of gravitate towards him.
Feel me? Check my biceps out.
We got those cameras like the year before.
Come here, dog. See what's up to the camera, dog.
As soon as he got it, you know, everybody was walking around with him. Everybody always taking videos.
It's a true encapsulation of who this person was at that age, living in Miami, being a star football player.
Take off your shirt.
Yeah, Brian, he was always filming. He had to be in front of the cameras. He had to be recording him dancing.
If you look at him, you know, it may be a little intimidating, but he was a great person. He had a great heart, great spirit.
His smile could just light up a room when he came in. He made everybody laugh.
It was just, he had a soft heart and really loved people. You could see this huge guy that looks, you know, this football player, but for me, I looked past that. I knew the soft side of him. That's the brother I remember.
Brian Pata came from a big family. He had an even larger extended family when you consider the football team, the people in his life and community who looked up to him.
My mom, she's from Haiti.
Like most parents, to be successful in this country, you know, you have the dream, the American dream, that come in and work hard.
It was quite a struggle for my mom, you know, single parent, home, you know, they try to make ends meet.
It's a total of 9 children. So there were 6 boys and 3 girls. Brian was the last of the 9.
He was never called Brian at home.
We never called him Brian. Everybody outside knew of him as Brian, but we knew him as Sydney.
Brian Pata, like a lot of people in Miami, didn't have it easy. They moved around a lot, spent a lot of time in Little Haiti and North Miami.
Brian and his brothers, they were sports crazy. For them, it was a way to get away from some of the troubles in the neighborhoods that they lived in.
Sports was for us pretty much our only way to get to college, to afford college. That's why part of the reason why we work so hard at it.
When I first met Brian, I was just like, wow, this guy is unbelievable talent.
Brian physically was so gifted in high school. You knew this was somebody who could play at a high level in college.
Brian was heavily recruited out of high school.
But he knew he wanted to stay in this region, he wanted to stay in this area, but it ultimately came down to being close to his mom.
There was only one school for Brian, and that was the University of Miami.
He swarmed and brought down Brian Pata. He has a motor that will not stop.
Miami Hurricanes in the early 2000s, hands down, is the best team of all time.
Brian Pata was a high-performing player on a team that was highly regarded.
A lot of people think he would have had a long, substantial career in the NFL.
With Brian, his biggest hope was to make it to the NFL, be as successful as possibly can be, in order for him to take care of his family.
His mother, she was on this journey with him.
What are you making?
Oh man, I'm cooking little fish, potatoes.
Rice.
And that whole trajectory was just derailed.
Navigate police fire with the emergency. Hello? Yeah? Hello? What happened there? Somebody got shot. The guy's on the ground. I don't know where he's bleeding from, but he's on the ground, man.
When police arrive, they start cordoning off the area. At some point, Miami-Dade police realizes that they need an assistant state's attorney's office representative to be there. They phoned Herbert Walker, who was on call that night.
By the time I got to the scene, you could already see people beginning to gather around it.
The night of the shooting, there was just a lot of police lights, people in the area, everybody wanted to find out what happened. And everybody sort of calling each other, what's going on, what happened.
After the initial incident, I remember meeting with friends and family members just to gather information. My experience as a prosecutor, time is of the essence, and the clock is ticking.
In the hours after Brian's murder, the Miami football team didn't know if this was an attack on Brian or if this was going to be an attack on multiple players.
That summer, another teammate got shot a couple months prior to Brian Pata. Ambush coming out of his house. I was scared myself, and nobody knows what happened. I thought somebody was trying to kill me too.
This is Murder at the U. I'm Paula Levine.
I got started on this in the spring of 2018. We were just gathering sound. At some point, we realized we had enough sound and enough of a story to make it a true podcast.
The podcast itself didn't really come to fruition until the story seemed a little more complete.
From 30 for 30 podcasts.
We had a killer amongst us.
Murder at the U.
The podcast is the result of 8 years of investigative reporting by ESPN.
I would say we've interviewed more than 100 people. We've gathered more than 5,000 police documents. Anything we've been able to get our hands on has helped us in our investigation to this point.
A star player on a major college football team, murdered near campus, just a few months shy of the NFL draft.
Brian Pata was an outstanding defensive lineman with UM and was being talked about as an NFL prospect until about 7:30 tonight when he was shot and killed in the parking lot of his apartment building
Give me my baby! Give me my baby!
A woman believed to be Pata's mother, wearing a UM jersey with his number on it, collapsed as she rushed to the scene. Other family and friends were overcome by the news.
In the weeks leading up to Brian Pata's death, his family had noticed some things that made them think that Brian thought something bad was going to happen to him.
I last saw Brian that Sunday on the 4th.
Yeah.
I cooked a huge meal for him. My mom and I, he came over, and he just seemed kind of just really mellow, quiet.
He was spaced out, and his head was down the whole time, kept rubbing his hair, and his hair was in front of his face, just kept rubbing his head like this.
His spirit was off, but we don't know. He couldn't explain it.
And I remember him leaving, and he said, "Thank you, sis," and gave me a big hug. It seemed like he was so far away from me, but he was literally right there. And I was like, okay, I love you. I'll see you soon. And not knowing that would be my last conversation with him.
November 7th, 2006, pretty average day for Brian. He and his teammate, 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 decide that they're going to go register for spring classes.
We went over, we registered for classes, and then we went over and got something to eat. After that, we went back to the 𝐔𝐋 athletic facility. We had a great day of practice.
After practice, we were told by one of Brian's teammates, Chris Zellner, that he was in the locker room.
There was a call that Chris Zellner overheard where it seemed like somebody was threatening Brian.
Just happened to be just me and Brian left in the locker room, and then he received a phone call. It started off as a normal call, and then it started getting heated. Brian started to say, like, you, if you want to come see me, you know where the I'm at, you. They hung up. I looked over, I didn't want to be too nosy, and I was just like, hey man, are you good? Like, you straight? So that was the angriest I've ever seen Brian Pata, like, ever.
After practice is done, Brian gets in his car, he's heading home. He sees some of the younger teammates. He offers them a ride home and drops them off.
Brian arrives home around 6:57. He's on the phone with his brother Fednall, and he says to him, "I'm gonna let you go now, I just pulled in."
Brian pulls into the parking lot in front of his apartment complex and exits his car. Within, police estimate, probably 2 minutes of that, he gets shot in the head.
Brian's girlfriend, Jada Brody, says she heard a bang and people arguing. Jada goes outside to investigate. She sees Brian Pata laying face down on a sidewalk, feet from his car. She thinks he's joking because he's a jokester and realizes that there's a pool of blood around his head.
There's police cars, fire rescue everywhere. They basically gave me the quick overview of what had happened and told me that Mr. Pata was found face down on the sidewalk. I saw a large black male just about 20 feet from the entrance to his apartment. There appeared to be an entrance wound to the back of the head, and it was a single shot. Based upon the fact that we didn't find any shell casings, it was suspected that it would have been a smaller caliber revolver-style handgun.
It was clearly not done as a robbery. They found Brian's wallet. There were 9 $100 bills still in it. His cell phone, like, no one had stolen anything.
To me, this might have been more in the line of a hit, a targeted assassination, if you will.
All through the night, the police canvassed the Colony apartments, knocking on every door. But they turned up no eyewitnesses. There was no security camera footage. There was no obvious trace of the killer other than the bullet that had pierced Brian's skull.
It was the worst feeling I ever had in my whole life. As an older brother, you always want to protect your younger brothers. And I felt like I wasn't there to protect them. It was awful, awful.
Who could have wanted a rising football star with a promising future dead Detectives began asking questions that night, asking Brian's family and teammates if he had any enemies, if he'd been in any fights, if he was worried for his safety. Turns out, the answer to all of those questions was yes.
The University of Miami.
This is Miami. There's a dangerous, sexy, cool reputation in this town.
Brian Potter. Get at you at the end of the game.
And if you are a college football player at the University of Miami,
It's game time. Time to get serious.
you are going to get caught up in that fast living lifestyle very quickly.
But you know this your boy, entertainer, Big Patter. You know, so I'm just showing y'all my cars and whatnot. But don't, baby.
That was Brian. Yeah, he was that flashy.
Check you out on my inside. You check me out. Ooh, wee.
He was very flashy.
Back in the days, I used to do all the UM players' cars.
K. Brown. This DJ don't.
Brian came to the shop. This is what he wanted right here. This is his favorite color right here. Candy apple gold, the syrup look. He loved that.
Brian's love of cars came during a time when a lot of kids his age were doing a lot of the same thing. He had a great joy of buying old classic cars, fixing them up, and then flipping them on the internet.
Just showing y'all my work, what I could do to my cars. Flamed out good.
He enjoyed that aspect of taking something, making it beautiful, and then trying to get a buck off of it.
That was one of the things that Brian wanted to do once he got successful and got paid in the pros, is open up a car shop.
Jamming to that Rick Ross. On our way to my apartment now, US 1 going south.
In 2006, MTV Cribs was a show that was still popular.
On this episode of MTV Cribs, NFL Edition.
Welcome, MTV Cribs.
I thought, well, this would be really cool if we could start doing this with local athletes and sort of make it a local story. I was working for the Miami Herald. I was a high school / college football writer. And because of my long relationship with Brian Potter, I just felt like he was the perfect candidate. Because he was one of those top-ranked players who didn't feel like he was too big for you. He wanted to help tell his story. I attached a microphone with a tape recorder to Brian's shirt, and we recorded it.
What up, y'all? It's my crib. I'm Brian Potter, University of Miami, defensive tackle.
What's up?
If you walk in, this is it's a townhouse, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. It's a living room. You know, we got not that much stuff, but it's decent for athletes. I broke the TV. I kind of spilled juice on it. So no TV there, but a cable box. Check out the kitchen. You know, we keep it clean. You know, probably got one dish in here, one cup. Going upstairs to the room. This is my room. You know, it's all right. It's not, you know, spectacular or nothing like that, but this is a little collage of me and my girl.
Jada Brody was, at the time of Brian's death, his girlfriend. They had been together for exactly a year. She had moved into his apartment earlier that summer.
I introduced Brian to his girlfriend, Jada. My name is Dave Howell, and I was friends and teammates with Brian Potter. We were at a on-campus party, and he ended up noticing her from like afar. And he was just like, you know, who's that? I was like, oh, I know her. I went to high school with her. Her name is Jada. He was just like, you know, can you hook us up? And I introduced them.
That's Jada? Yeah. Brian was not, you know, some serial dater and all that. He was a typical college student. And I think at that point, he kind of settled down a little bit, wanted to take this relationship a little more serious with Jada.
They had their fights, they had their love. They were just a typical college couple.
The day that he was killed, the night before, they were celebrating their 1-year anniversary. So it seemed like they were on cloud 9 to me.
According to what she told detectives, Jada was in the apartment cleaning out her dog's kennel. She told police that she heard an argument outside, possibly Brian's voice, and went to see what was going on. She saw Brian lying on the ground. At first, she thought he was playing a prank. Then she saw blood around his head. Jada said she ran back upstairs to call 911.
You never know who might be a possible suspect, and at that point, everybody's a suspect.
One of the things that police looked into and that we looked into as well were some conflicts that Brian apparently had with Jada's family.
The police found that in the spring of 2006, Jada told her father, Jerry, that Brian had broken up with her because he suspected her of cheating on him. Jerry told police that he then called Brian to warn him not to speak disrespectfully about his daughter. The conversation with Jerry led detectives to Jada's twin brother, Jerome. Jerome Brody had been in and out of jail for various offenses, and his father said that Jerome would have killed anyone who messed with the family.
You might have a situation where a brother, a sibling, might feel strongly enough that he might take matters into his own hands.
About a month after Brian's murder, Jada Brody's brother, Jerome Brody, ends up getting arrested in Boston, and as part of the arrest, police find some guns in a vehicle. Miami-Dade gets this information that they have those guns tested to see if they're a match to the bullet found in Brian's skull.
Miami-Dade police flew up to Boston, tried to speak with Jerome. He was unwilling to speak, but those guns that Jerome had didn't match any possibility to Brian.
We did our due diligence, and we couldn't place him in the area.
Jada's twin brother and other members of her family were deemed not to be involved.
The police started going down all of these different rabbit holes, but they actually were starting to look at someone much closer to Brian.
Hello? Whether Brian got mixed up with the wrong girl is one of the questions that certainly the investigative team looked into. Is there an ex-boyfriend that is upset that she left him? Crimes of passion cause passionate action.
Brian Pata, a defensive lineman for the Miami Hurricanes.
Brian Pata was shot and killed. And Brian Pata was a great leader.
A team leader.
A selfless, fun-loving kid. Teachers loved him.
A tragedy. We miss Brian Pata.
Brian was laid to rest at the New Birth Baptist Church in Miami.
The amount of people that was coming in, I think it was like over 2,000 people.
I remember my mom passing out, crying.
Passed out completely.
Yeah, completely passed out.
A lot of our teammates was there. You know, it was a sad day, man.
It was a hard day, seeing a lot of teammates break down and start crying. It was a really tough day for the University of Miami.
Look at this moment here.
At the first game after Brian's murder, the team kneeled for a moment of prayer and silent reflection midfield with this big banner.
Brian Pata's image, the slain Hurricane teammate, a banner that fans made, and the team gathering around it at midfield.
That was rough. We were just like numb, you know, like you didn't feel like playing no football, you know what I mean? Like the teammate just got killed.
Months before Brian was murdered, one of his friends had purchased for him a suit to wear to draft day.
Brian had picked us out to wear this draft, and they had it all out. And that's when it hit me then, just looking at that. It's supposed to be the best night of his life, and this is the worst. You got to bury him in it.
There's an alternate universe in which this tragedy doesn't occur, where Brian Pata goes on to the NFL, and he would have been a multimillionaire It would have been another Miami Hurricanes American Dream story.
Everybody wanted to find out what happened. Just a lot of questions. Who did this? Who would have wanted to kill Brian Potter?
In the hours after Brian's murder, the Miami football team decided to bring all of the players back to the athletic center, the 𝐔𝐋𝐋 Center, to brief them all on what had happened. The one glaring thing that people noticed was that there was one player not there.
Brian had an issue with one player on the team, and that was Rashawn Jones. He didn't like him, they didn't get along. He's not a good person.
Brian Potter's name was buzzing at that time. There was a lot of talk about his future, a lot of hype about him going into the NFL draft. Rashawn Jones was more of a background player. You didn't hear his name a whole lot.
Rashawn Jones was a safety on the football team, a defensive back, really didn't play very much.
I looked at him as like a cool young guy, jokester. You could tell by the way he worked on the field. He was somebody who was passionate about the game.
He was a ladies' man. I mean, I knew every time I seen him, he was trying to, get at the girls.
In the early days of the investigation, police came across a specific beef that Brian had with Rashawn, and it was largely over Jada Brody, Brian's girlfriend.
Prior to Brian and Jada being in a relationship, it was rumored that Rashawn and Jada had some form of relationship. That is what the friction that was there between Brian and Rashawn.
According to some of Brian's teammates, there would be taunting about, she's my girl. There was definite jealousy and factors there that put those two at odds over who she liked, who she was dating, and what her history was with both guys.
He just said that the guy kept trying to fight him, and so they kept getting to these little fights.
In 2004, there was an incident between Rashawn and Brian that had happened on campus in one of their dorm rooms.
The dorm fight, me, Brian, and Eric were walking up to Eric's room, and at that time we saw Rashawn leaving out of the room. We were just kind of like confused, like, why is he in there?
I don't know. He said he was looking for DVDs. He was trying to apologize to me, but I really didn't want to hear it. I was just tired. I was ready to go to sleep because I had to be up in a few hours.
Rashawn ends up trying to, leave out of the room, and then Brian ended up punching Rashawn. And me and Eric kind of looked at each other like, did this really just escalate like that fast?
I broke it up when Rashawn was walking out. He told Brian he might as well go ahead and clip up.
They heard Rashawn say to Brian, you better clip up, meaning that he better get a gun.
I was like, y'all about to shoot each other right now? Get out of my room. You know what I mean? I'm about to go to sleep. I'll holler at you.
Rashawn Jones threatened Brian, so you never take anybody who threatened your life lightly like that.
I don't think that he looked at that as like a threat. I mean, he never really mentioned it after. You know what I mean?
Here's what we had learned about Rashawn. Rashawn had conflicts with Brian. He would have known the Hurricanes' practice schedule and what time Brian would arrive home. According to the police report, there were no eyewitnesses to the shooting. No murder weapon was ever found, and there was no record of any physical evidence linking Rashawn to the crime.
Clearly the name Rashawn Jones came up, but it was on a list of many names that we were looking at.
Initially, police looked into a broad string of incidents involving the Miami football team, but they weren't able to make any connection to Brian's shooting. As the investigation continued and police widened their search, they realized there was a long list of people who may have wanted to harm Brian.
At one point, the police had been alerted by a jailhouse snitch that his cellmate had allegedly confessed to him one night.
As part of vetting, the police had the informant take a polygraph.
No arrests as of yet as police in Miami continue their investigation. Brian Potter, senior defensive lineman for Miami, gunned down at the age of 22.
The murder of Brian Pata took on mythological proportions in this town. It was like everybody had a different theory.
We learned that Brian had a busy life. It wasn't just football and his girlfriend. He was involved in a lot of things.
The investigation at the start went in so many different directions.
There were so many different angles they were trying to go with. I felt like the police just didn't know which leads to really truly go for.
It wasn't a limited field of suspects. You need to follow the evidence.
One of the tips that came into the Miami-Dade police was that if they wanted to find Brian Pata's killer, they needed to look for ties with the 𝐄𝐏𝐻𝐿 gang.
𝐄𝐏𝐿's a well-known gang in the Miami area. They were notorious for doing crimes of great violence. 𝐄𝐏𝐿 was featured as one of the bad guys in one of the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence Bad Boys movies.
Yo, dry off, sweetheart. That's Ice Pick. He said the Haitian 𝐄𝐏𝐿's about to do a rep. Let's move.
There is no indication that Brian was a member of this gang, but there were members of the 𝐄𝐏𝐿 gang who told us that they were aware of Brian, that they knew him.
The homicide detectives weren't able to bring back anything that would tie a specific action of the 𝐄𝐏𝐿 to this incident.
There was a lot of talk about Brian getting into fights with some pretty potentially dangerous characters.
Oh, boy.
It is not uncommon at all to see bad blood lead to fists being thrown in a nightclub in Miami.
A few months before Brian is killed, Brian and some of his teammates are at a club called Club Life, and they get into an altercation with some guys there who belong to a gang.
There was definitely a physical confrontation.
Brian's throwing punches, and he's clearly involved in the fight. And as they are leaving, members of this gang are telling them, we're going to come after you for this. And one of the teammates with Brian at the time is calling Brian and telling him that, someone's got a hit out on us.
At first, Brian was definitely worried about these guys. His girlfriend found him sleeping in the closet where he kept his shotgun, and I think that was certainly a reasonable indication of concern or fear or paranoia on Brian's part.
The Club Life investigation didn't seem to go anywhere, but then a few months later, the police got another promising lead, an alleged jailhouse confession.
There was a jailhouse informant. His name was Bernard Brinson, and he claimed that he was having a conversation with another inmate by the name of Emmanuel Jones. And Emmanuel Jones would end up telling him that he got paid to do a hit, and that he believed that the person he got paid to do the hit on was Brian Pata.
They went and actually administered a lie detector test, and the jailhouse snitch passed the lie detector test.
Back in 2007, police had quickly ruled Emmanuel Jones out as a suspect.
There's evidence in the police records that that man had an alibi because he was in jail on November 7th, 2006.
But we discovered the police had the timeline of his arrest all wrong. That robbery took place in August 2006. But Jones wasn't actually arrested until December, a month after Brian's murder.
Miami police did not respond to our requests for comment.
Years later, I was able to actually track down the alleged confessor, Emmanuel Jones. And I got him on the phone, and I was trying to bring him back to that time period in 2006.
If someone were to say, hey, you confessed to this murder, do you remember where you were in November?
I was nowhere around no murder. I don't know anything about no murder.
They wrote he had an alibi. He was in jail for stealing a dirt bike in an armed robbery.
There was all this talk of jailhouse confessions and tales of professional hits. All of this just swirled because there was just this emptiness that the police couldn't fill.
You hear this person's the lead person, and next week someone else is the lead person.
When it took longer than 6 months, all of a sudden you're like, okay, what's going on?
Now a tragedy that has no closure, no conclusion, and no answers. The murder of Brian Pata.
It takes too long to know who killed him. I don't know what to say anymore. Every day I'm talking, we try to call a detective to ask them questions. They don't want to pick up the phone. We leave them message. They don't call back.
It feels like Miami-Dade needed to do something new. Their hand was almost forced into doing something creative.
As a reporter, I try to stay out of the story. But sometimes the work you do to get the story and what you uncover changes it. That's exactly what happened here.
To my knowledge, this is the first time a police entity has ever reached out to ESPN for help with a case like this.
Welcome inside Radio City Music Hall.
The 2007 NFL Draft is now open.
In April of 2007, the NFL Draft was held at Radio City Music Hall.
The Chicago Bears take Greg Olsen, tight end, Miami.
Seeing those guys that he knew and get picked, it was real sad to watch.
Introduce yourself, man.
I am Greg Olsen. How you doing, Pat?
Greg Olsen and Brian were good friends on the team. After Brian's death, Greg Olsen went on to have an incredible NFL career and a long broadcast career after.
It reminds you of what could have been for Brian, the life that he could have lived.
It isn't entirely clear to us how this case ended up becoming a cold case. There was a ton of media attention at the time, but fell off.
The family reached a point that they were very frustrated with the police efforts to finding answers.
When you look at the police file, you see very, very little new inserts from 2010 to 2016. It was almost like nothing had been done. It's March of 2017, and the family is holding a joint press conference with Miami-Dade PD.
It's hurt. It's hurt. 10 years now. We don't hear nothing from my son.
Brian's mother turns very accusatory towards Miami-Dade police.
They don't work in the case no way. The system no way. Not to say something that's hurt me.
I think it was the pressure from the family that finally prompted the Miami-Dade Police Department to reach out to the media to see, okay, look, the family wants us to do something. Let's at least make the effort to put the word out there again and see if we can generate some leads.
Maybe now, 10 years later, somebody who might have information might be an adult now. Maybe they'll do the right thing and make that one phone call that we need.
So in the summer of 2017, Miami-Dade police reached out to ESPN in the hopes that we would produce a feature,
wait for this matchup tonight.
hoping that it might trigger something in somebody watching it. We discussed it internally and thought, let's see if there's something more to this story than just a college game day piece.
You know, we're ready to kind of jump in with both feet and see what we can do to move the case forward, if you will.
That sounds great to me. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
We would ask lots of questions. A lot of them they couldn't answer, but a lot of them they did.
What do you know, if anything, about maybe what led up to it, or if there was an argument or anything?
We don't know if he had bad blood with anybody. As of right now, we really don't have a motive.
One of the things that really drives me in an investigation is looking at, okay, the people who were supposed to be doing a good job at this, what did they do? I wanted to dig further into this.
Once we started putting in requests for actual police evidence and police files, it quickly became a little bit adversarial.
There are a lot of questions we have about witness interviews, phone records, and any other possible leads that you guys have gone down that we would love for you to share with us.
That's stuff that is, since it's still active, we can't disclose.
They did start to provide some documents, but the problem was giant sections of them were blacked out. If we didn't get the information, we couldn't tell a complete story.
Greg Cooper and Dean Jackson are members of a cold case unit in Utah. We realized we needed some out-of-house guidance on how we had perceived Miami-Dade's police work.
They're former investigators, law enforcement, and when they looked at this, they agreed. There were some of these angles that the police hadn't ruled out.
There was some redaction to those reports, so without having that information, it created questions about the investigation and how far it went, how thorough it was.
One of the things that I just can't get over with this is that there were some just basic omissions and errors in this that you would not think that a police department of that size would be making. It's like, you know, in 2006, there weren't text messages.
Did you guys look through Brian's texts from what was available on the physical phone?
I don't believe there was text messaging back then. That was the old style flip phones, you know, those push-to-talk phones were the old things that I don't believe there was texting.
By the time we went back to them a year later, we had learned a lot about Brian's life. And at that point, we were asking them questions which they didn't even have answers to.
We were told by Chris Zellner, Brian's teammate, that in the locker room after practice, the day of the shooting, Brian was engaged in a very heated phone call. Was that call investigated?
I don't remember that individual's name. I don't think I personally interviewed him. Obviously, that's somebody that I would like to speak to also.
After we all got the news that Brian passed away, I immediately told the police officers, and they just kind of like, okay, thank you, we'll take that into consideration. And that was it. No follow-up questions, no like, do you think you heard anything? Do you think you heard a name? Nothing like that. I never heard from them ever again.
The caller that Chris Zellner had overheard is a cause for concern in that it was never identified who the caller was or what the nature of the conversation was. That should have been tracked down, identified, and interviewed.
When the police department was being reticent with us about information, that really made me curious because you wanted us to do this, like you wanted this exposure. And what is it that you don't want to tell us?
It appeared as though the Miami-Dade police turned on the very people that they had recruited into this effort to help solve this cold case.
ESPN decided that the only way to try to get an unredacted copy of the files was to sue Miami-Dade police.
So we're here on the case of ESPN Inc. versus Miami-Dade County et al., case number 2020-5029-C01.
Eventually, we were ruled against, but while on the stands, we were able to get several officers of Miami-Dade to admit.
Does MDPD know who killed Brian Potta?
Yeah, we have a strong belief as to who's responsible for his death.
And that revelation confirmed what was previously released to us by accident in the heavily redacted police reports. In some of the initial batches of records that they gave us, they included dossiers on a lot of the people they looked into. The only cover page that had the word suspect on it was the cover page for Rashawn Jones.
We knew that was important. They forgot to redact it.
That was the first indication that they were not being truthful with us.
Do you have a specific suspect in mind?
No. I mean, anybody, we didn't have a specific suspect.
The police are not required to be truthful to reporters. However, in denying they ever had a main suspect, they made us even more skeptical of their information. They had considered Rashawn Jones a suspect from the beginning.
In November of 2020, our investigative team decided that it was ready to publish something with everything that we had learned.
That photo that was featured so prominently of all the players on the field kneeling by that banner of Brian's face will look very different based on the players who are pictured in it.
Place your hands behind your back for me. You're being placed under arrest.
My mom, she still talks to him and we help her clean the gravesite. The heartbreak of not knowing. There's not a day that my mom did not wake up. She's in tears. She'll never be the same.
I remember my son every day. It's sad.
While interviewing the family, we learned that every year they held a vigil on the anniversary of Brian's murder at his gravestone.
We're trying to keep this case active as much as we can. 13 years later, you realize nothing's been really done.
Somebody just kill him like this, it's not right. One day, truth gonna come out.
From the outside looking in, it was the kind of case that police should have been motivated to solve quickly. But that is not what happened. Instead, weeks turned into months, which eventually turned into years, and Brian's murder remained unsolved.
In November of 2020, our investigative team decided that we'd probably taken the case as far as we could to that point. That's when the digital story came out. The family was so appreciative that Brian's name was finally being talked about again, and some pressure, it seemed, would be put back on Miami-Dade police.
You may remember this case because Pata was a star football player for the University of Miami.
It's been over a decade, and the murder of Brian Pata is still unsolved.
In one of South Florida's most infamous unsolved murders, the shooting of a University of Miami lineman, and it remains unsolved to this day.
We felt like that got the ball rolling again.
It opened it up big time.
Our story was the very first time that the public had been told that Rashawn Jones, a former teammate of Brian Pata's, was the person that police were considering most likely to have killed him.
One of the theories of Brian's murder definitely revolved around his teammate, Rashawn Jones. There was pretty open conflict between the two of them.
After reading the ESPN article and then just kind of putting this piece and this piece together to kind of make it make sense, I started to believe that there was definitely a capability of this being Rashawn.
I received a voicemail from Edric, Brian's older brother.
Hey Dan, good morning. It's heating up really good. I think they're about to make an arrest soon.
9 months after our story comes out, we get word that the Miami-Dade Police Department is moving to arrest Rashawn Jones.
I believe one of the catalysts was the ESPN article that came out. I think also the state prosecutor also getting a little more aggressive in his approach towards arresting someone.
They show up at a Dollar Tree warehouse in Ocala, Florida, where he's working, and they're waiting for him when he leaves work. And he's arrested.
Being placed under arrest.
Another exclusive tonight, the wife of a former UM football player coming to his defense after he was arrested for murder.
I heard them say, Rashawn Jones, put your phone down, you're under arrest.
Rashawn Jones' wife says he knows nothing about that night and doesn't know who killed Brian Pata.
He's not this person that they're trying to portray.
She says even though Jones and Pata had a history, it was resolved before his death.
He said it wasn't even at odds when Brian got killed. He's not a murderer. He's not.
An arrest in the 15-year-old cold case, the murder of a University of Miami football player. Brian Pata was fatally shot outside his apartment back in November of 2006, and now police have arrested his former teammate, 35-year-old Rashawn Jones, and charged him with Pata's death.
I said to myself, it's about time. It's about time. My mom she got up and she started to dance and she started to praise God and say thank you.
I kept trying to say it can't be true, wait till it's all proven, but like at that moment, I'm not gonna lie, I was really upset.
Look at this moment here, Brian Pata's image, the slain Hurricane teammate, a banner that fans made, and the team gathering around it at midfield.
Initially, the photo of this moment looked to us like a team united, grieving one of their own. But now, one player sticks out, Rashawn Jones. Somehow, he's made it to the front row. He's on one knee, looking down at Brian's face on the banner. Knowing the rumors that were swirling around the team at that time, that photo started to look very different to us.
When I see that photo, I just be like, wow, you know what I'm saying?
it just gives you chills, man. You know what I mean? It's a little scary.
So the question now is, looking at that image, are we seeing a man who is praying for his teammate or who is praying for forgiveness?
After Rashawn Jones was arrested, we were really waiting around to see what was the tipping point. What was that missing piece of the puzzle that you said you needed to make an arrest?
Were you anywhere near the scene where Brian was killed that night?
I wasn't in the area.
What if I told you there was an eyewitness that saw you leaving the scene right after?
"35-year-old Rashawn Jones, a former defensive back for the Canes, was arrested in Lake City in Marion County earlier today with the help of U.S. Marshals.
After Brian is killed, Rashawn had gone on to marry his high school sweetheart, Ashenda. He has 5 children, and he's doing some coaching stuff. He's somewhat still involved in football, but seems to be living a pretty average life.
In August of 2021, Rashawn Jones was arrested and was subsequently interviewed and interrogated for this crime.
Have you already patted him down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've gone through everything, pockets and stuff.
And in walks Miami-Dade Police Detective Juan Segovia, who took over this investigation from Miguel Dominguez, who retired right after our lawsuit.
How many hours did you sleep last night?
The approach that the detective is using at this point really is non-accusatory. It's just an interview approach to begin with.
What can you tell me about your relationship with Brian?
I mean, we had an up and down relationship.
Okay. What happened? What does that mean, up and down?
We was teammates. I guess females got involved. So it was, I don't know, I guess jealousy over females.
I think Rashawn wants to find out how much information, what the detail is, what it is eventually that the detective has to share with him.
He doesn't seem to be concerned about admitting that, they've had some ups and downs.
Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet, because they haven't put it into a context for him to have concerns about that.
Rashawn had somewhat of a history of getting into altercations, and there was another player that would tell police that Rashawn actually pulled a gun on him.
Did you own a firearm back when you were at University of Miami?
No.
You never had carried? Never.
No.
Did you ever make it sound like you carried a firearm?
I don't know. I was a lot going on back then. I don't remember if I said I didn't never say I carried a firearm.
Most likely the realization is they're trying to connect me to a weapon that's connected to the homicide.
And all of a sudden, he starts stammering.
And you can see that he's thinking about that. He's trying to go back through the files in his memory.
On the morning of Brian's murder, Rashawn is called into the coach's office, and he's told that he's failed his drug tests, which is going to lead to a suspension.
It was for marijuana?
It was for marijuana, so I don't go to practice that day.
Okay.
When I leave out of his office, I go home.
Miami-Dade pulled phone records for Rashawn Jones, which show that at 3 p.m. on the day of the murder, Rashawn activated a new phone number.
What was the reason for changing your number? Explain to me.
I don't know. At the time, I felt like I was going to get a lot of backlash for my second marijuana, for my drug test.
From who?
From friends, family. I know I let my family down, mother them, grandmother them.
One thing that stood out when we finally got to look at his phone records was that there were 56 calls, but there was a gap between about 6:40 and 7:40. And police believe Brian was shot around 7 o'clock.
So when you got home, you turned off your phone?
Yeah.
What'd you do that?
I just didn't want to be from the outside world.
Okay.
I was frustrated with myself.
At the time of the shooting, police are contacted by someone who lives at the Colony apartment complex by the name of Paul Connor.
Paul Connor was a writing instructor at the University of Miami. On the night of the murder, Paul Connor was about to make a turn into the parking lot. He hears a pop, and seconds later, he walks by a young African-American male going in the opposite direction.
Police later showed Connor a photo lineup, and Connor identified 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones as the man he saw that night.
What if I told you there was an eyewitness that saw you leaving the scene right after? You remember that old man that you crossed with in the sidewalk there?
I wasn't there. He can't eyewitness me.
You were identified as leaving the scene.
How? And I wasn't there.
He was shown 6 photographs. He was shown 6 photographs, and you were one of them, and he immediately identified you.
I can't explain it to you. I don't know.
Just really bad luck?
Really bad luck. I'm telling you, I have nothing to do with this guy murder. Nothing. Ain't no 15 years of telling myself I didn't do it, or ain't no trying to convince myself I didn't. Nothing.
His concurrence that, it's just bad luck. This is just bad luck, really bad luck for me. Now, it's a lot more than bad luck. It's either fact or it's being trumped up against him.
Why would all these people lie about your
I just said I used to live, I used to be young and wild. So I guess that's just the perspective they got on me of how I was. But that ain't got nothing to do with picking up no gun, trying to kill nobody, harm nobody with. That's not in me.
Ashenda is brought into the interrogation area as well, and she comes to talk to 𝐅𝐷𝐿 after they've interviewed him.
They said they got the eyewitness and people saying that they seen me with a gun when I was in Miami. Oh, I threatened Brian when I was in Miami. People heard me threaten him.
That's all they got?
People heard me.
They ain't got no DNA. You can't make me think my husband is a killer. I said, listen, you have to literally show me him standing over the body for me to believe that he killed this man. I love you.
You got a star witness involved here, identifying 𝐅𝐷𝐿 as the individual responsible, and it behooves the prosecution to ensure that that individual is safe and willing to participate and capable of it.
In the lead up to the trial, the prosecution had been telling the court that there had been issues with tracking down Mr. Connor. They tried his phone number, they tried his address. He was nowhere to be found. They just presumed that he was dead.
But something here just didn't seem right. I find people for a living. I just didn't believe he was dead.
Mr. Connor?
Mommy kept all of these. Mommy was so happy when she got this jersey.
Oh, yeah. My son.
She said, my son. That's him holding it. That was the first jersey. This just tells you right here how much of a jokester he was. You see?
Oh my God. I missed this boy.
Yeah. You hear stories or you watch a documentary, you see something like this, to think that one day that you'll be that same family wanting justice, wanting closure, and you're sitting there just waiting. This is him as a baby.
It's been a roller coaster ride for all of us. We prepare and we talk about it. Then all of a sudden it gets pushed, then it gets pushed and it's pushed. It's been a roller coaster ride.
If the family hadn't pushed, if there was no 2017 press conference with Jeanette Pata, if there was no involvement of ESPN, would we even be at this point?
The former football player accused of killing a teammate charged with second-degree murder at his arraignment today. Jones has pleaded not guilty.
The first substantive thing that happens in his case is a bond hearing, which is in 2022.
Please come forward to the witness stand right up here.
One of the most interesting things about the bond hearing was that we finally got to see, for the first time, Paul Connor, the writing instructor from Miami who claimed that he saw someone matching the description of 𝐅𝐷𝐿 Jones leaving the apartment complex after the shooting.
How would you describe the person that you saw, Mr. Connor?
A young African-American, 6 feet to 6'1", tall, approaching the gate.
What did you notice about the man and his facial features?
Well, he smiled at me. He had a clean set of white teeth, no gold teeth.
The bond hearing lasted a few days, and at the end of it, the judge set Rashawn's bail at $850,000. But his family couldn't come up with the portion needed for bail, so he remained in the Metro West Detention Center in Miami. Time passed, and 4 years after his arrest, Rashawn was still in jail, waiting for a trial.
I got contacted by Rashawn because another client referred him. I went to see him at the jail, and he told me a little bit about his case, about the fact that it had taken 15 years. The case did not sit right with me, and I decided that I was going to represent him.
Rashawn Jones has a fiercely passionate and dedicated defense team in his corner. Sarah Alvarez is 30 years old. This is her first murder case ever.
So when I came onto the case, the witness list that the state had filed was very incomplete. I realized that there was a lot left to do in terms of deposing these witnesses and also tracking down other witnesses who the state was saying they had never had contact with.
As it turned out, one witness was extremely difficult to track down.
In the summer of 2025, the state attorney's office comes to a hearing and says something that is pretty shocking, which is they can't locate their main eyewitness, which is Paul Connor.
They couldn't find him. They said they had run him in all the records databases, and we kept pushing and asking for evidence of this.
The prosecution had been telling the court that there had been issues with tracking down Mr. Connor. They tried his phone number, they tried his address. He was nowhere to be found. They just presumed that he was dead.
As someone who does this for a living and tracks people down, I did not believe that Paul Connor was dead, because when you die, you create a paper trail.
Paula Levine phoned one of Mr. Connor's previous co-workers. She was so concerned that she called a welfare check to be done on him.
Remember, this is a private individual just calling up the Louisville Police Department to do this.
Hey, are you Paul?
Yeah.
Paul, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
A few weeks later, producer Dan Aruda and I made a trip to Louisville to see for ourselves. We arrived at the address that both we and Miami-Dade had for Connor.
Hi, are you Paul Connor?
Yeah.
Have you been contacted by anyone recently from Miami State Attorney's Office at all?
No.
Just before the murder trial for Brian Pata is about to start, a key witness is found who police thought was dead.
It wasn't the police that discovered this key witness wasn't dead. It was ESPN. I mean, that's just wild.
2020 reached out to the Miami police with specific questions about their investigation. They did not respond to our requests for comment.
All right.
So as the case finally heads to trial after all these years, all eyes are on that courtroom in Miami.
Nearly 20 years after the deadly shooting of a football player, it's time for trial for a teammate accused of the crime.
This case got really personal for all of us. We were ready to take the gloves off and throw down.
Everyone out. Everyone out. Yes, everyone out, including you. Out. Out. Unbelievable.
So this is courtroom 4-1. It's really only used for the big trials. It's the same courtroom where Ted Bundy was tried, and they knew that the media would be interested in this case.
The first day where testimony is scheduled to begin, here comes the Pata family in force into the courtroom. His brothers and sisters and his mom, Jeanette, who is in a wheelchair.
We've been preparing for the unknown because this is the hardest thing. We've never gone through this before.
And to see them all come in and fill up, 2 full rows in the gallery, it was powerful. They sat down, and I think they bore witness. I mean, that's the best way to put this, to what they hope is justice.
The inescapable feeling here is justice delayed is justice denied.
State of Florida versus Rashawn Jones.
State prosecutors say over the 15 or so years of this case, all evidence really pointed to the defendant.
We are asking that you just pay close attention to each and every witness who testifies, because each person will provide a piece of evidence that in the end points only to one person. The man sitting at that table over there, Rashawn Jones.
So for the prosecution, this case basically comes down to the relationship between Brian, Jada, and Rashawn.
All roads did not lead to Rashawn Jones. Just because the government tells you that something is true does not make it so.
Rashawn looked, as he's sitting at the table, very professional. He didn't really glance over at the family. He really kept his focus on his counsel.
For 15 years, the police interview Rashawn along with other teammates and other students, but they never really treat him like a suspect. They don't bring him in for a sworn statement for 15 years after he's already been arrested for this horrible crime.
Would you like to call your first witness?
In an extremely emotional moment in the courtroom, you have Dwayne Hendricks, Brian's teammate, former roommate, testifying about the moment when he saw his friend lying motionless in front of their apartment.
I noticed Brian on the ground, so I hopped out of the car and I was like, yo, stop playing. He had a puddle of blood behind his head. That's when it hit me. He wasn't playing, and it wasn't a game anymore.
Did you call anyone from his family?
I tell people to this day, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. It was to call that. To call his mom and say that her youngest is dead.
When the prosecutor first started showing some of the photos from the crime scene and some of the photos of Brian's body, it was a really emotional moment for the family. I mean, they were leaning forward, they were grabbing tissue, some of them turned their heads away. It clearly had an effect on them.
Good afternoon, Mr. Howell.
Dave Howell, Brian's teammate, testified about the hostility that he saw between Brian and Rashawn over Jada.
Did Brian and Rashawn get in any other disputes?
Yes.
Were they over Jada?
Yes.
Did you see any of those disputes?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what you saw?
It was in front of the cafeteria. It was just words between the two of them, and they moved on. It was nothing physical.
And former teammate Éric Moncourt testified about the day that they came up to his dorm room.
Brian ended up pushing him, and he pushed him, and I think he punched him, and then he got on top of him and started headbutting him. And then I ended up grabbing Brian and pulling him off, and Rashawn got up and he walked out the room. He was like, boy, you might as well go ahead and clip up.
During cross-examination, the defense attempted to downplay the statement, clip up.
You didn't actually believe that Mr. Jones was going to shoot anybody, correct?
No.
You didn't take this as a serious threat?
No.
After this fight that happened in your dorm room in the summer of 2004, you thought that it was over at that point, correct? There was no further beef?
Yes.
And you never heard anybody bring this fight up again, right?
Not to my knowledge.
But the key testimony came from that alleged eyewitness, Paul Connor.
I'll keep this very brief. I really just have one question for you. What did Rashawn's teeth look like in November of 2006?
So if you think about it, this entire case could possibly come down to the description of someone's smile.
He witnessed taking the stand today in the murder trial of 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones, a former UM professor detailing what he heard and saw the night Brian Pata was shot and killed.
The state plays for the jury a recorded testimony of Paul Connor from a hearing in 2022.
Do you swear more from the testimony?
It was treated as regular testimony.
He smiled at me. He had a clean set of white teeth, no gold teeth. And that's about it. I described him to the forensic artist.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of the sketch that was created based upon your representation?
Yes.
The million-dollar question in this is, did the jury believe Paul Connor?
But another witness, Bruce Johnson, who was a teammate of both 𝐅𝐔𝐋 and Brian, is called to testify. The defense takes this as an opportunity to question him about 𝐅𝐔𝐋's teeth.
I really just have one question for you. What did 𝐅𝐔𝐋's teeth look like in November of 2006?
They just wasn't, everything wasn't straight. It was jagged, kind of messed up.
Would you describe them as a clean set of white teeth?
No.
Now, these two statements are completely at odds with each other.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and tell them where you're employed?
Yes, my name is Juan Segovia. I'm a homicide investigator with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office.
One of the final witnesses that the state called was Detective Juan Segovia, and he had been assigned in 2020 to take over the case, and his testimony was incredibly useful for the prosecution because it took all these little pieces of testimony from all these other people and essentially tied it together in a very effective narrative as to the motive, the means, the opportunity for 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones to kill Brian Pata.
What information did you gather that led to you getting an arrest warrant?
It was the threats accompanied with the display or talk of the same type of firearm that killed the victim. It was the phone records. It was the identification of Mr. Connor and all the circumstantial stuff that happened the night of.
The jury also got to hear the post-arrest interrogation interview of 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones.
Let's talk about Jada a little bit, because Jada's name comes up a lot during the investigation. Is that the first time that you have any beef with Brian whatsoever?
Yeah.
That you remember? That was over Jada?
Yeah.
Okay. You dated Jada?
Never dated Jada.
Did you guys have any relations?
We had a relation once.
On cross-examination, the defense pressed Segovia on whether or not 𝐅𝐔𝐋 ever owned a gun.
You have no personal knowledge whatsoever that Mr. Jones actually owned a firearm at any point, do you?
Not legally.
Not legally?
Right.
You have never seen Mr. Jones with a firearm?
I've never seen him.
The prosecution ends its case on the very graphic testimony of the medical examiner.
I do.
Who uses a model to describe the fatal injury that takes Brian's life.
The pathway of the bullet through Mr. Pata's body was from his left side, several inches above his left ear.
That was hard for the family. It was an incredibly emotional way to end those 5 days of testimony.
At this time, state arrest.
We had so many other leads, all of which were more viable than 𝐅𝐔𝐋. Ultimately, the court ruled that these different viable theories be excluded.
At this time, the defense rests.
Even without that, we felt so good about the case because they still didn't have anything, and we trusted that a jury would feel similarly.
I had to ask somebody next to me, did I hear what I thought I heard?
Mr. Jones, your attorneys have indicated after speaking to you that you do not wish to testify. They're not going to call any witnesses on your behalf. Have you had an opportunity to discuss that with them?
Yes.
Are you deciding not to testify in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
We were stunned. I think anybody there who was witnessing this was wondering what had happened.
Both the state and the defendant have now rested their case. The attorneys will now present their final arguments.
You'd remember one of the worst days of your life. You test positive, your future's unsure, you don't have the girl, you're gonna get kicked off the team. Things are not going your way. And then it all just boils over.
Does this look anything like 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones? Does this look anything like 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones? Nothing. Paul Connor's selection is not reliable. It is not credible. 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones was not at the Colony Apartments. 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones did not shoot him. 𝐅𝐔𝐋 Jones had nothing to do with his death. Rashawn Jones failed a drug test. He was at home at the time that Brian Pata was killed.
All rise for the jury.
This family has been put through so much for so long, and they get so close to what they believe is finally going to be justice for them. I can't even imagine what they're going through.
We are now on verdict watch as the jury evaluates the evidence in the murder of his teammate Brian Pata.
The only thing that is not a foregone conclusion here is what that jury is going to decide.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've received your note. I've received your note indicating that you continue to be deadlocked, and so at this time I will declare a mistrial and a hung jury. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case.
The breakdown was 5 for not guilty and 1 for guilty, and the person who was leaning to guilty was just unmoved.
This has to be extremely difficult for the family, and in particular, Jeanette, Brian's mother. She has called for justice for her son, her youngest child.
Anybody who's seen the video of Jeanette running down the street, wearing Brian's jersey, yelling,
"Give me my baby! Give me my baby! Give me my baby!"
and then to juxtapose that with her being wheeled into an elevator because she's so frail that she can't walk on her own, kept saying 20 years, 20 years.
We come here! We come here!
And she still has that same desperate plea in her voice.
We're frustrated, but we're also resilient. We're going to remain steadfast and confident that we're going to get the answers that we need.
What do you think you would do differently?
That's a hard question to answer. I'll leave that for the next trial.
There are no winners here. At the end of the day, we're still at the same place. We don't know who killed Brian. We don't know the truth, and I don't think we'll ever know the truth.
The damage is done. The lives of multiple individuals have been completely ruined.
His fate was really demoralizing and discouraging, not just for the Miami Hurricanes football program that fell into a precipitous decline after that. It was devastating for this city, and particularly for the community that Brian came from, which is always looking towards our athletes as role models, as symbols of hope and opportunity.
He did have such a love for the community that he was raised in, and he understood the importance of him making it.
And when you have a young person who's from this area and is able to advance not only the identity of Little Haiti, but become somewhat of an ambassador of the culture, and his life is taken way before its time, it's heartbreaking. Brian Pata's life and the tragedy of his experience is like a candle from the dark. And when that light is lost, it hurts us all.
What's going on? Hello?
You know, I'll look at a picture or something, I get emotional, but then I'll think back how we used to spend our times together, and you know, the jokes he would crack, and you know, the times we would spend, and just those memories, the positive, you know, all the good stuff, you know, that, but you think of, oh man, he's not here anymore, you know, that's when the tears flow. A gentle giant.
Loving individual.
Full of life, full of energy, positive energy. Someone who's truly missed. It's still hard for us today.
A little bit after his death, I dreamt about Brian. He was talking to people, he was saying he's okay, I'm okay. I wasn't supposed to die, but I gotta go over on the other side. You guys won't see me anymore. God is letting me in the door now. Those were his words. Then a big purple door opened, and it's bright light, and he walks in between. He looks, and he waves. So I love everybody, I love everybody. Then he hugs me. It felt so real. And the door shuts behind him. And then that was it.
You know, it's a dream that keeps Brian connected to his loved ones. His family's journey for justice will continue as the state is expected to retry Rashawn Jones.
So more to come, David. For additional information on this story, you can listen to the 30 for 30 podcast, Murder at the U, which chronicles ESPN's 8-year investigation into the case. That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.
It was almost like Amanda talking from the grave. Is it a crime of passion? Is it a crime of revenge?
What's going on?
When you walk in this apartment, you see Amanda Plass lying there on the floor.
She's spread out on her back, and there's blood all around her.
There was no doubt that she was already dead. It wasn't even like she needs help, it was she's dead. My worst enemy, I wouldn't want to have to go through that. It's just horrible.
Not knowing how to even comprehend what had happened, but then still knowing that, okay, I need to put my child to rest.
Every single person in her life was a suspect. Everybody.
She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past.
Oh my God, you know.
You know what? Mom ain't playing around no more. Somebody knew something.
Our story begins here in Chicopee, Massachusetts. A small city nestled alongside the Connecticut River. Chicopee is a suburb of Springfield, Mass. It's about 90 miles outside of Boston. Here on bustling Memorial Drive is this busy Friendly's restaurant. It's a place for ice cream celebrations and familiar faces. One of those familiar faces, 20-year-old Amanda Plass. More than a waitress, really. Those who knew her said she was the heart of this place.
Amanda really connected with the customers there.
She had a child that used to come in and only liked red gummy bears on his sundae, so she made his sundae with just the red gummy bears.
That's just how Amanda was. Everybody loved her.
We would come here and we would ask for her because she just brightened our day. She was just a sweetheart.
It was a warm evening in August, right around 5 o'clock, and Malene Holmes sat right here in this Friendly's, waiting for Amanda. Malene was a customer, and she and Amanda had become friends. They were supposed to meet right before Amanda's shift for dinner.
She used to come here and have dinner with us before she'd start her shift. We had been waiting for her, and then she didn't show. Everybody was concerned. They were trying to call her, and there was no response. Everybody's like, where is she? It was just very strange. It was very, very strange.
Even more strange was when minutes turned to hours and the ever-reliable Amanda Plass never arrived for her shift at Friendly's. Not long after Amanda fails to show up for work, a frantic 911 call comes into the Chicopee Police Department. The caller is a 22-year-old named Seth Green. And Seth tells dispatchers that when he went to visit his girlfriend Amanda, he stepped into a scene of unimaginable horror.
She was laying on the kitchen floor right when I opened the door. Just in a pool of blood, stabbed to death. Called 911. I was still holding her when I called 911. I mean, there was no doubt that she was already dead. It wasn't even like she needs help. It was she's dead. And she was throat was slit. Multiple stab wounds to the chest, right in the heart.
I was the on-call state police detective for that particular day. I got a call to say that there was a homicide occurred in Chicopee.
Ronald Gibbons, who at the time was a detective with the Massachusetts State Police, raced to the crime scene. What's the scene like? You arrive, what are you taking in?
This is the building itself. The Chicopee police officers had cordoned off this area, had put the yellow tape around it to block anyone from going to the back.
When the first detectives arrived at the scene, Lieutenant Gibbons says Seth was in distress and sitting on the back porch.
He was frantic, he was erratic, he was just a range of emotions.
What was that like for you, to see her on that floor?
It's just something that I would never wish upon anybody. My worst enemy, I wouldn't want to have to go through that. Honestly, it's just horrible.
When you walk in this apartment, you see Amanda Plass lying there on the floor. Describe the position she was in and what you're taking in as you see her.
She's like spread out on her back, and there's blood all around her.
Death by stabbing is very often a personal attack on behalf of the perpetrator. You have to be up on top of somebody when you plunge that knife into them.
It was almost like Amanda talking from the grave. Is it a crime of passion? Is it a crime of revenge? There's a lot of slashes here. This was very violent. It looked like she fought.
I knelt down right next to her. I wanted to, imagine or think that she was, breathing or something. And I tried to give her CPR, like blow into her mouth, and it literally blew out of her. She was pretty butchered up, and it's just horrible.
She's lying on the floor in a pool of blood with multiple wounds, partially dressed, and very dead.
It's around the same time that Amanda's sister Amy Lee receives an unexpected visit from her aunt.
And she told me, your sister's dead. Your sister's been murdered. And I remember just crying instantly. I remember screaming. And my aunt is like, we need to find out who did this. We need to find out right now. And as we're en route to go tell her, my mom's calling me. And she's saying, Amy, what's going on? My mom's begging me to tell her on the phone what's wrong.
So I went outside, and there were the Chicopee detectives and the state, my daughter, my husband, to let me know that she had been stabbed to death.
So in real time, you're learning that your daughter was stabbed to death. How difficult is it to process all of this that's going on in that moment?
Oh my gosh, how am I going to bury this kid? Or what, 19, 20-year-old has a life insurance policy. Where do you get the money? Just that whole process of not knowing how to even comprehend what had happened, but then still knowing that, okay, I need to put my child to rest.
It's something you can never be prepared for.
No, never in a million years.
You see your friend and they're happy, they're vibrant, they're excited for life, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. And it just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense.
I had this heavy gut feeling that something really bad was gonna happen to Amanda. I was like, oh my God, did I manifest this? Like, did I put that thought out there and it came true?
Nobody could understand why it happened because Amanda was just friends with everybody. I don't remember Amanda having any enemies.
Every single person in her life was a suspect. Everybody.
Any detective or criminologist is going to tell you that our money is on Seth Green, the most recent boyfriend.
Well, my captain is now saying, head to the station. They got a possible suspect. He's down at the station. They're going to interview him. Need you there right now. It's a race against time.
I think my knife may have been at her house.
So you have a knife at her house? That knife was not found. Seth was the perfect suspect.
To truly understand Amanda Plass, all you needed to do was look into her eyes.
You can see her soul, the love that she had for everybody and anybody.
Her eyes changed colors. When she was really happy, her eyes would literally turn green.
What stands out to you when you think about her?
Her spirit, yeah, her energy.
Amanda grew up in Chicopee, once a bustling mill town, now a quiet working-class community known for the rambling Chicopee River.
Chicopee's a small place. Everybody knows everybody.
The neighborhood itself is a very close-knit neighborhood. The houses are pretty adjacent to each other. Very urban residential neighborhood.
How often does it happen that you have a random murder?
A lot of times you have a gang murder, and this was different because this is truly a victim in her own apartment, a young girl, 20 years old, brutally murdered.
Amanda was the middle child, raised by her mom, Michelle. She attended a local high school, but left before graduating and instead earned her GED.
She was a hippie child. I often find her barefooted outside, painting or taking pictures of the neighbor's dog, playing her guitar.
Growing up, we were like best friends. My mom used to dress us up like we were twins. My mom was a single mother for most of our childhood, and we moved around a lot.
I've always raised my children to be, independent, and you get what you earn.
I used to call Amanda the bigger sister. She had a job, an apartment. Her work ethic was nonstop. Amanda was always dancing around and painting and splashing colors everywhere.
Anything that had to do with being artsy, she would make feather earrings.
When you see a sunflower, you think of Amanda. It became her trademark. When she found the music festival scene, that really is where she started to blossom. She's in her early 20s, and she just found herself right before she passed.
A butterfly coming out of a cocoon. Just the brightness. That was her.
On that tragic Friday in Chicopee, Amanda's boyfriend Seth, whom she had only been dating for about a week, tells police he stopped by Amanda's apartment and immediately noticed a broken window.
I pounded on the door for a minute.
And then did you try going to her apartment door?
Yeah, turned the handle on the hots.
I went to her door and let myself in, and she was laid on the floor in a pool of blood.
She got up immediately and called.
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Seth had only been dating Amanda for the week.
But he said he had moved his things in, and it was a serious relationship.
We've been hanging out every single day for a week now.
And the relationship was moving fast, right?
Yeah, it was moving fast. You know, she had that go-getter attitude and just a fun, caring person.
What were you doing for a living at the time?
I'm a carpenter, but roofing is where the money's at. So roofing was my main go-to usually for the construction field.
Seth tells police he spent the night at Amanda's, left for work around 9 a.m., and returned to find her dead. He also tells investigators he was working on a roof that day and left the job site multiple times to purchase supplies.
What time did you leave to get the materials?
I had left like 3 times. It was later in the day.
3 to 4?
Like 3 to 4.
Seth says he and Amanda had kind of fallen into a routine. Every day after he finished working, Seth would drive Amanda to her job at Friendly's. However, the day she was murdered, Seth tells detectives that routine was broken because he had to work late.
He was there every day that week to take her to work, but this is the one day that he had to work late. That kind of was suspicious to us.
How important was Seth's timeline?
His timeline is very important. He leaves the job site several times, and he's on his own. So where exactly did he go, or what exactly did he do?
I texted her, I said, "Where are you?" She didn't answer.
My first thought was like, oh, she stayed home. Maybe she couldn't find a ride.
So you weren't like concerned or anything at that point?
No, not at all. I drove her straight to her house, expecting to see her there, waiting for me, you know.
Oh my God, you know. She deserves so much. You give it all to her.
These range of emotions does not add up.
He's rising to the occasion of being a suspect.
The interrogators zone in immediately on the fact that Seth Green is a carpenter and a roofer. In other words, he uses sharp objects and utility knives all the time.
Then comes a chilling detail that ratchets up the suspicion on Seth. He tells detectives the knife he used at work, the sharp M-Tech blade, has gone missing.
But I think my knife might have been at her house.
So you have a knife at her house?
Yeah, I think it might be at her house. It might be in my car as well, I'm not sure.
He was missing his M-Tech knife that he didn't take to work that day. That knife was not found. Seth was the perfect suspect.
My girlfriend just got murdered and you're blaming me for it. Dude, are you kidding me?
And now police want to know if the telltale piece of evidence left behind at the crime scene will implicate or exonerate Seth Green. Michelle Penna will never forget the final text message she received from her daughter Amanda.
She sent me a text and said, "Mom, can you give me a ride to work?" And I said, "I can't." And she said, okay, she'd find a ride.
No one could have imagined that just hours later, 20-year-old Amanda Plass would be gone forever.
Homicides happen all the time, but when it happens to you, I would have never thought that my sister was going to be murdered.
What you stumbled upon when you went to Amanda's house, how does that compare to a lot of other homicides you've covered?
In this particular case, there's droplets of blood all around the room, and that's indicative that this was a very, very brutal and harsh fight.
Well, when we were finally able to get into her apartment, they had covered the floor with paper, so we didn't have to see all the blood. So when you're trying to clean out her apartment, as I'm walking across paper to cover my daughter's splattered blood, and then who do you ask to help?
My theory is that the attacker came through the back door. When we found Amanda, she's actually in her work pants, her work clothes. There was no evidence of a sexual assault.
She was found on the kitchen floor, and they do believe she was killed there. So not in a bedroom, not in the living room, and that suggests perhaps an element of surprise.
She just didn't lay down and die. She actually fought back. And when she fought back, underneath her fingernails was possibly DNA, and we're gonna have to match this DNA to someone.
The first person investigators test, Amanda's boyfriend, Seth Green.
I'm gonna do a couple tests. We're just gonna swipe the inside of your cheek, okay?
The interesting thing, we stepped out of the room, but we still observed him. And he'd cry a little bit and then just wonder why he was there.
I can't believe that. So happy with her. What happened, Gravely?
He had only been dating her for a week, and he was so caught up that this is the best thing that ever happened to his life.
But detectives also receive information that points to someone other than Seth. Amanda had recently told her family that someone had been sneaking into her apartment.
She said, my apartment got broken into again. And I said, well, what did they take? You need to call the police. And she says, no, Mom, all they took was a glass bowl, like a marijuana bowl. I said, well, you still need to call the police. And she said, no, what am I gonna do, tell them my pot got stolen?
Amanda's friends say she suspected an unidentified male was watching her.
She saw him peeking in her back window of her apartment. The window is actually broken, and we surmise that the person possibly had tried to make it look like a break-in.
So on that same window, you end up with a palm print.
If we can identify the palm print, we can also identify the person that would have been there that particular day.
But among the most important piece of evidence found at the crime scene, a bloody sneaker print.
That footprint showed a sneaker print in blood. You can actually see the Nike impression in that footprint. We had it measured, we had it analyzed. That was very important because it was a smaller shoe, maybe a female, maybe a male. We were looking for a Nike size 7.5 Air Max shoe.
I remember a couple days after she was murdered, everybody had went to her apartment in Chicopee Center and just held a memorial.
The whole front of her building was just a sea of sunflowers.
That was a really intense, emotional time to be in front of the apartment of where she was murdered and just comforting each other, just shocked, not understanding how or why.
And then, a few days after Amanda's murder, there was a funeral.
I just remember it just being beautiful and intense and very heartbreaking. And a lot of sunflowers.
Meanwhile, police aren't giving up on the idea of Amanda's boyfriend Seth as a suspect. Within hours of Amanda's murder, they even go as far as to ask him for the shoes on his feet.
Would you give us permission to look at your shoes?
Yeah, you can take them. I mean, take them off now.
Just put up.
Finally, after almost 15 grueling hours, investigators reach a conclusion. Seth Green is not their killer.
His DNA did not match. His shoe print didn't match. His boots were a size 12. It was too large to be the person at the scene.
Clearly, there's some other shoes there that were not mine, and that's the thing that got me released, honestly.
What did that moment feel like for you?
Well, it's definitely a big relief, honestly. Yeah, when they were walking me out was definitely in a moment, finally, like I told you guys a million times, it wasn't me.
What is that like to go through that, to experience the loss and then to have to face that questioning?
I mean, it's unbearable, honestly. It's like, I just called you guys, like, you know, why are you, you know, trying to blame me for this? Like, you know, I love this girl.
Seth is officially cleared as a suspect and tells cops there's someone else they should be looking at.
She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past.
Detectives also want to learn about an ex-boyfriend who was allegedly upset after seeing a public display of affection between Seth and Amanda at Friendly's.
While she was working, he had showed up at work and they started making out.
And detectives say that ex's reaction wasn't very friendly at all. So at the very least, you had to consider that he could have had something to do with this.
Very much so. A motive of revenge is on our mind.
What surprised you most about the conversations police were having with you?
It was hard for me to hear them kind of making me feel like they're, you know, asking me questions like as if I were the one that did it. Not something I'd ever want anyone to have to go through. It's just horrible.
Any problems last night at all?
So happy.
It's sentiments, man. She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past.
Amanda's boyfriend, Seth Green, is fully cleared. But now investigators wonder if one of those previous relationships could be a factor in Amanda's murder. They discovered that before Seth, Amanda had been seeing a man named Jesse.
He was a boyfriend of Amanda, basically a week before Seth was. And he also worked at Friendly's.
So at the very least, you had to consider that he could have had something to do with this.
Very much so. Jesse wanted a serious relationship, Amanda didn't. And she finds a new boyfriend.
Police learn of an alleged incident at Friendly's involving Jesse and Amanda's new boyfriend, Seth, that raises alarm bells for authorities.
Friday was the murder. Thursday night, when Jesse's working, Seth shows up at the Friendly's.
Amanda's boss at Friendly's tells police Seth came in and kissed Amanda openly. Jesse saw it, and he looked uncomfortable afterwards. Jesse asked to go home a little later.
Jesse moves up the chain as a very likely suspect. A motive of revenge is on our mind about Jesse.
I want to play some of your interrogation from speaking to Jesse.
So you both worked at Friendly's on that Thursday, right?
Correct.
You left work early, right?
Correct. You told us you left because they overscheduled you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not what we heard. We heard that Seth went in there, gave her a kiss that made you uncomfortable.
Seth was in there for like a while.
And he did kiss Amanda in front of you and it made you
I thought
uncomfortable.
I'd seen them talking. It didn't bother me. I was talking to Seth, but I never physically seen them kiss. Not once.
You knew that Amanda was dating Seth.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Sucked, but what are you gonna do?
After he left work, Jesse says he texted Amanda about some items they wanted back from each other now that their relationship was over. But investigators press him about the nature of those messages.
Was there any anger in the text?
Not in that text, I don't believe so.
But there was some anger in some other texts, weren't there?
Yeah. I was just angry at the fact that she just didn't talk to me for a few days and I was just wondering what was going on. I was just pissed that she wouldn't tell me.
And this is the time that she's now with Seth?
I don't know if I knew about it yet, but she's probably talking to him then.
At this point, you're trying to figure out who might have been involved. How does this information fit into your investigation?
We're looking at the fact of who could have done this, who was angry at her. Because as we look at the scene, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of anger going on. It's not a one and done out the door.
Can we also look at your phone?
What'd you do with those text messages that you texted her?
Did you delete them all?
My texts are deleted.
Because you felt they were uncomfortable, or?
First of all, I didn't want to look at any conversation of me and her, just because it made me sad to even think about her.
Why is that?
Because she's murdered.
So you deleted them after you found out she was killed?
I didn't even want to have to look at them. Everything reminds me of her.
As an investigator, what do you make of that?
He's trying to hide something. So now there's obviously text that he doesn't want investigators to see. Did he delete them because she's dead, or is he part of something that happened to her?
Deleting text messages certainly seems out of the ordinary.
Yes, it does.
Now investigators want to know if Jesse was doing anything out of the ordinary the day of Amanda's murder.
Did you stay home all day?
Most of the day. The only time I really left was to go to Friendly's.
What'd you go there for?
For my check. So.
Did you cash it?
No. Oh, actually, yeah, I did cash it at General's.
How did you get there?
I got a ride.
From who?
He says he goes to General's. We check a tape to verify his story. We learned that Kyle did not drive him there. So Jesse had lied.
Jesse, we interviewed you twice already. And were you telling us the truth?
Everything except for about me taking my car to General.
Why weren't you telling the truth about that?
Because I told you guys that I didn't drive my car, and then when we got in the story, I remembered I took my car to General. I just didn't want to go back on my word. I was scared. I don't know. Believe me, I regretted it the second I did it.
You were scared?
What were you scared about?
Just nervous. I've never been interrogated before or anything like that. Never had to deal with anything like this.
Basically, his story is he didn't want to tell his parents he wasn't supposed to be driving, so he's more afraid of his parents than he was of the police. Jesse has lied about who he is with. From Friendly's, quite possibly, if he's in the car by himself, he could have went by Amanda's and then went to General's.
With questions lingering over Jesse's account, investigators decide to compare his shoes to the bloody shoe prints left at the crime scene.
No, what are those, Vans?
Yeah. I have like 2 pairs of these.
Yeah, that's it.
You want to look at the bottom?
Yeah, the other side.
Ultimately, Jesse's shoes are not a match, and his alibi checks out.
We talked to people at General's. He's not bloody. He's cashing his check.
Those close to Jesse never thought for a second that he was capable of such a heinous crime. Tell me about Jesse.
Jesse's a great kid. When his name was brought up, that was a absolutely not moment. I've never seen Jesse angry.
Sweetest kid.
And I know that was really intense for Jesse.
Yeah.
I know that was, to be put in that spotlight and to have the whispers, I think that was really hard for him.
With Jesse now fully cleared by authorities, investigators follow another lead. A mysterious vehicle that a witness says she saw speeding away from Amanda's apartment right around the time of the murder.
So to us, it's like, wow, that's big. We're on the lookout for a white sedan.
And a 911 call comes in that might just turn the entire case on its head.
Plymouth Police Court of Line Dispatch, Daily speaking.
I'd like to call to turn myself in.
And to know what you're turning yourself in for.
A murder.
Jesse, there's a couple of things that are bothering me here on your statements.
Amanda's ex-boyfriend Jesse raised eyebrows when detectives say he was less than forthcoming with information.
Now, you said you still don't know how she died.
I don't.
You don't? I find that very hard to believe that you have no idea how she died when everybody's talking about it. It's been on the news.
But after determining Jesse had a solid alibi, he was cleared, and investigators with the Chicopee Police and the state police quickly move on. Still unclear who exactly they're searching for.
One of the best clues that investigators find is a shoe print, a sneaker that is a size 7.5 men's shoe, which is very small for men. It's the smallest size you can get in men's shoes. Or it could be a woman's size 9.
Investigators get a new lead from a neighbor of Amanda, a witness who told police she saw a suspicious car the day of the murder outside Amanda's apartment.
And so afterwards, as you're learning more about the scene, you learn about this white sedan that's here that peels away at one point.
Right.
Not a common thing to do.
Not a common thing to do. And we actually got that information from the neighbor next door. They remember a white car here, and they just remember a female
single female in the car pulling away at a high rate of speed around the 4:30 hour. And then we identify who that white car was, ended up being a girl from East Hampton named Mercedes Benz.
That's right, her name is Mercedes Benz. Another friend of Amanda's who works at Friendly's.
Mercedes was a really nice girl. She was a waitress here also, and she was friends with Amanda, and we used to talk to her all the time also.
Now it was police who wanted to talk to Mercedes Benz. Mercedes tells detectives that Amanda had texted her earlier that day asking for a ride to work. She said it was a little after 5 p.m. when she arrived at Amanda's building. This is right around the time police believed Amanda was murdered. Mercedes said she called and texted Amanda to let her know that she'd arrived, but after waiting 5 or 6 minutes, she said she left.
We talked to Mercedes Benz, and she says, well, the reason I had to leave was I had to go to Walmart.
Does that add up for you?
It doesn't add up, because her purpose of coming here all the way from East Hampton was to give a ride to Amanda to work, to Friendly's, which is basically 5 to 10 minutes down the road. So it doesn't make sense. If you pull up here to get her, why would you just leave without even going upstairs?
But what seems like a promising lead fizzles out. That neighbor who saw Mercedes speed away confirms she never got out of her car. And police obtained surveillance footage from Walmart that backs up her timeline. That's her in the white sedan pulling into Walmart. And more footage shows her shopping inside the store.
Mercedes was basically cleared once we were able to get the tape from Walmart.
Frustrated, investigators pushed forward, now casting a very wide net.
I mean, they were taking DNA from everybody and anybody.
We made a point for the medical examiner to make fingernail clippings of her fingernails. On this particular case, it was entered in a database, and there was no convictions for a felony that would have matched it.
With no matches to the DNA collected at the crime scene and no viable suspects, the case stalls. What surprised you most about this time?
I think how tight-lipped they were, whether it was Ronnie Gibbons or Chicopee detectives. Nobody was talking, even to me. Nobody was talking. They were very tight-lipped about certain things.
How did that make you feel?
It was very frustrating at first because I wanted answers. And I would call every Sunday night. I would call down to Chicopee Police Department looking for the detectives. What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? Got nothing to tell you, Michelle. Got nothing to tell you, Michelle. But it's just, at what point is, I never gave up, but you just think, is this going to be a cold case? Will I ever know?
That fear of never getting justice for Amanda was fuel for a fire that was now burning inside Michelle.
My mom made it very clear that she wasn't just gonna let the case go cold.
I didn't give up hope because Michelle never gave up hope. She never gave up. She didn't let anybody else either.
Tell me about how, after this time had passed, that you said, I gotta take matters into my own hands.
I was driving home from work and I saw a billboard, and underneath it was Lamar and Company. And I said, you know what? Mom ain't playing around no more. I called them and emailed them, and next thing I knew, Amanda's billboard went up.
And that's just the beginning, right? You did flyers.
Balloon releases. I even had cards made up, business cards with the text-a-tip number on it, and we attached them to the balloons. When we did the balloon releases, one of the balloons ended up 3 hours away, Cape Cod.
Wow.
It's been 18 months and 5 days since Amanda was murdered, so today I'm hoping with the release of these balloons that somebody will come forward.
Somebody knows something that happened that day. It was a busy Friday afternoon. We're just looking for that one missing piece of the puzzle.
She was just in your face. She really was like you would be as a mother. We want to find out what happened to your child, and she was out there. She was gonna find out.
Michelle's a force.
Despite Michelle's efforts to publicize Amanda's case, the investigation continues to languish. Then, a dramatic development. More than a year after the murder, a 911 call comes in that initially stuns police. A man confesses to Amanda's murder.
I like to turn myself in. I live in Plymouth.
Well, spell your last name.
Do I really have to? I'm turning myself in.
Right, but I have to know what you're turning yourself in for.
For murder.
From where, sir?
From 𝐄𝐏𝐒. From Amanda Platte, and I just can't handle it anymore.
Cops track down the caller, but just like hundreds of other promising leads, the confession is a dead end. The caller was impersonating another man trying to get him in trouble. Neither had any involvement in the murder.
They had read it online, facts about the murder, and once you got through the facts, there was no factual basis to the confession. This was a very frustrating investigation.
And then a discovery that blows the investigation wide open.
And I still remember the night. It was probably at 10 o'clock at night.
I get a call from Ronnie Gibbons.
Michelle, you got that whiteboard from the apartment?
A clue that had been hiding in plain sight all along.
I never heard his name.
Had you ever heard Amanda mention something,
Nope.
Dennis?
Never, not once.
Can you spot the clue on this whiteboard?
Where do you guys want me to start?
Nobody could wrap their head around the fact that Amanda was killed to begin with, let alone trying to think of who could do it.
We had a billboard on 391, a huge billboard with this beautiful picture that she took of herself that day she was murdered.
Somebody knew something, and nobody was talking.
I kept saying, there's no way that there's no DNA. There's just no way. There has to be something.
There was a whiteboard way in the back. On the whiteboard, there was wording in it. Dennis was, W-A-Z, here.
Who's done this?
I got goosebumps right now.
So I was on the way to the hospital. They had told me 12 hours before I had her that I was having a boy. And Amanda by Boston was on the radio. As her godmother and I drove to the hospital. And when she was born, the nurse looked at me and said, "It's not a boy." So I named her Amanda after the song by Boston.
I'm gonna take you by surprise and make you realize, Amanda,
She was just always bubbly and fun, and she had this big curly hair, and she just, she was a light.
But on that tragic Friday in August, Amanda's bright light was extinguished when she was found brutally murdered in her apartment.
She was laying on the kitchen floor right when I opened the door, just in a pool of blood, stabbed to death.
I got the call to say that we have a homicide and respond to the scene, so I actually responded to the scene initially.
People in the neighborhood were worried. Is someone gonna come to my door and kill me?
You don't even think it's real at first, you know? You're numb to it. Then you're like, oh, okay, maybe something's like amiss. Like maybe this isn't true.
Nobody could wrap their head around the fact that Amanda was killed to begin with, let alone trying to think of who could do it.
At the crime scene, police discover a partial palm print on the broken window and a bloody shoe print in the kitchen near Amanda's body. But with lead after lead coming up empty, the investigation is losing momentum.
They interview hundreds of people who knew her, friends, relatives, coworkers, and there is nothing new under the sun. Unless somebody comes forward with new information, this case is going to grow cold.
I think there's this impression sometimes that a murder happens, police will solve it in months. Some cases, they take time, they linger, Was that frustrating for you?
It was very frustrating because, you know, as time goes on, and you have to realize that in 2011, when this occurred, time didn't stop. Investigations didn't stop. Crime didn't stop. So we were working other cases as well.
I was getting nervous that her case was going cold.
Somebody knows something that happened that day. We're just looking for that one missing piece of the puzzle.
Amanda's mother, Michelle, takes matters into her own hands, organizing benefits, balloon releases. She even got a massive billboard with Amanda's picture put up on the highway.
I wanted people driving down the highway and seeing my daughter's face. Somebody knew something and nobody was talking.
But then, a little more than a year after the murder, the story takes a strange turn. Rumors are swirling in Chicopee about graphic crime scene photos seen at a high school football game.
New details on the Chicopee police officers accused of taking pictures of murder victim Amanda Plass's body.
It was June 10th of 2013. I will never forget. There was a news conference. It was the then mayor who was appointing a new chief of police and said that they were investigating a crime scene photo leak by 2 of the Chicopee police officers.
My heart just sank. What do you mean police officers were taking pictures of the crime scene and sharing them?
2 Chicopee police officers who had been assigned to protect the crime scene took photos of Amanda's body with their personal phones, and adding insult to injury, they forwarded the pictures to other officers, and it was shown to coaches at a high school football game.
Everyone, the whole newsroom was, how could anyone do this? How could an officer do this?
Michelle sued the police department and the city, claiming emotional abuse suffered at the hands of the Chicopee PD.
They sued him for $10 million. I sued the city, the police department. I sued them all. It wasn't about the money. It was about proving a point.
An internal affairs investigation called the behavior an affront to the professionalism otherwise demonstrated by Chicopee and the state investigators in this case. The officers responsible were disciplined by the police department.
They were there to protect the scene, and at my daughter's most vulnerable moment, you just respect her in the worst way ever and think that's okay. I was mad.
At the same time Michelle's dealing with the photo controversy, she's campaigning tirelessly to keep Amanda's murder case front and center. What was it like for you to have to handle questions about that controversy, while at the same time, what you're really focused on is finding your daughter's killer?
Yeah, and I think that's what's the hard part of it all. I didn't want the controversy to overshadow the fact that we still did not have justice for Amanda. We were still looking and begging for that end to be closed.
Investigators working on Amanda's case had no involvement in the alleged scandal. Frustrated by the lack of progress, they go back to square one, reviewing everything from scratch.
We would try to keep saying, what did we miss? What did we miss? What did we miss?
And then a breakthrough. While reviewing photos of the crime scene, investigators spot a potentially critical clue that had been overlooked, hiding in plain sight in Amanda's bedroom.
We come upon, in a scene where the table is at, there was a whiteboard way in the back. On a whiteboard, there was wording in it. Dennis was, W-A-Z, here, 8/11/11.
The grisly murder took place in the kitchen, but the whiteboard was in Amanda's bedroom, which appeared undisturbed, and they missed the clue.
I get a call from Ronnie Gibbons, and it was like 9:45 at night.
Michelle, you got that whiteboard from the apartment?
I said, yeah, it's in the closet. He said, I'll be over in 5 minutes. I gotta grab it.
After more than 2 years, investigators finally had a name. But the answer to the question, who is Dennis, only brings more mystery. This Dennis was here on this whiteboard. This is a huge clue for your case.
This is a big clue.
Why?
because Dennis' name had never come up in the investigation.
Now we're scrolling through Amanda's Facebook going, who's Dennis?
She didn't know. Amy Lay didn't know.
Her friends were calling me going, Dennis. Nobody knew who Dennis was.
Amanda's friend Desiree said through force of sheer will, you kept her name out there. How difficult was that?
It was difficult. It takes a toll. And there are some nights where you just, again, you don't want to be that mom. But then something else would pop up and you'd be like, okay, let me call Trooper Gibbons. It was tough. It was very tough.
I had Michelle that was calling me at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, mad and angry. You gotta do something. You gotta do something.
There was never a time where Ronnie did not show up at my house without a smile on his face. The only side that I saw was the compassionate side, the side that said, I'm here to the end.
It was a Wednesday night in October, more than 2 years after the murder, when Detective Gibbons was the one making a late-night phone call to Michelle.
It was October 30th, 2013, 9:45 at night. I get a call from Ronnie Gibbons. Hey, you still got that whiteboard from Amanda's apartment? I said, yeah, it's in the closet. He said, I'll be over in 5 minutes. I gotta grab it.
The discovery of a name hiding in plain sight on a whiteboard in Amanda's apartment kickstarts an investigation that, frankly, had been on life support. Now the question everyone is asking, who's Dennis?
No one knew Dennis.
Had you ever heard Amanda mention someone named Dennis?
Never, not once.
I never heard his name.
The detectives told me right when they found it, asking me if I knew the name. Like, no idea.
It is such a long shot, but they zone in on that and they decide they need to find out who Dennis is.
One of the things that was missing was her cell phone. We went back to her cell phone records. We came out that there was phone calls for a number. They came back to a Dennis Rosa Roman. I immediately recognized the name because about a year before, I had actually arrested Dennis Rosa Roman.
Gibbons had arrested Rosa Roman on a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. Rosa Roman pled guilty and paid a fine. But now Gibbons knew exactly who Dennis Rosa Roman was. The question, was this the same Dennis whose name was on that whiteboard?
You have anything further you want to tell us?
A possible answer could lie in one of the police interviews with Amanda's ex-boyfriend, Jesse.
While Jesse was still dating Amanda, Amanda had told him that she thinks her apartment had been broken into while she was at work.
She thought it was some kid that she had met and bought weed off of.
Jesse described him as being shorter. Jesse's probably like 5'10", 6 feet.
He's got to live like somewhere within like 2-second walk. I remember I used to see him walking around like that area all the time.
Jesse said Amanda told him she had hung out with the person once before, but he had no idea where. Now Detective Gibbons is wondering if the man Jesse had been describing in that interview could have been Dennis Rosa Roman. Amanda lives about a half a block away from this park. She used to hang out here, right?
Yeah, this is like a hangout for the neighborhood. And we learned later on, this is kind of like where Dennis would hang out during the daytime because he just didn't work.
So they might have come across each other in this park just in passing in the neighborhood.
Exactly, exactly.
In the time since Amanda's murder, Dennis Rosa Roman had moved from Chicopee to nearby Westfield, Massachusetts. Gibbons decides to pay him a visit. So now we're headed to Westfield, Massachusetts. Why is that significant?
That's very significant because once we found Dennis was here on the whiteboard and his number is on the phone, we want to locate Dennis.
What's your expectation going there? What are you trying to achieve?
The plan was to knock on his door and talk to him, just like we had talked to over 50 other people in the case, as well as to get his shoe size, as well as to get his DNA. I go to the apartment, ring the doorbell, no answer, and next thing you know, I see from a side alleyway that's between the building, Dennis come out.
And what happens next?
Beautiful timing. But here he is, he comes right around the corner.
Just walking right to you.
Walking right to us. So I stop him and then say, hey, Dennis, you got a moment? We want to talk to you about Chicopee. We want to talk about a girl named Amanda Plass.
Yeah.
His first thing is, he kind of chuckles. He says, oh, no, I don't go to Chicopee. It's too dangerous there. And I say, well, how about this girl Amanda Plass? And he says, oh, I don't know Amanda at all. So I know that from the phone records, yes, he does know Amanda Plass.
In fact, Gibbons knew from those phone records that there were 9 calls between Dennis and Amanda. Dennis had called Amanda 5 times just a month before the murder.
I said, hey, can we go to the police station? He said, no, I got something I got to do. I noticed him light up a cigarette, and he's smoking on a cigarette. And now I'm thinking, wow, maybe I can get DNA off this cigarette that he's smoking.
Although Gibbons had arrested Rosa Roman a year prior, because he had never been convicted of a felony, his DNA was never entered into the national database. Gibbons says Rosa Roman didn't want to talk to him that day and began to walk away, but not before he tossed the cigarette he was smoking on the sidewalk.
Meanwhile, I told my partners, go to my car, get a paper bag, give me some rubber gloves. Dennis sees that because he keeps looking back. My partners come back with rubber gloves. He sees me put them on. He sees that paper bag. He sees me reach down and put that inside that bag.
Two days later, Dennis Rosa Roman is sitting in an interview room at the Westfield Police Department.
So your first name is Dennis, right? Yes, D-E-N-N-I-S.
Engaging in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with investigators.
I don't feel right doing this at all, but I have to. You don't even understand. I'm trying to save my life here.
Outside his home, Dennis Rosa Roman appears to be acting cool and calm with detectives, until he sees them pick up his cigarette butt off the street. Clearly he's concerned, because not long after they leave, he calls Lieutenant Ronald Gibbons.
After seeing me take that cigarette butt, he's now blowing my phone up. Hey, you and I got to talk.
You say you really need to talk to today. Yeah, like seriously. Where do you guys want me to start?
Where they want him to start when they meet with the cameras rolling is very simple. Does he know Amanda Plass?
You knew her. I met her. I didn't know her that long, but I knew her of her. You know her first name? Amanda.
How much before did you meet her that she passed?
Say like a week or two.
Okay.
2 weeks the most.
So you know her about a week or two before she got killed?
Yeah.
He didn't know Amanda at all. And then he comes around to say that, okay, I did know Amanda, but I would sell her weed.
I met her by Family Dollar in Tedeschi and Chicopee. Okay. You know where that's at? Mm-hmm. So I seen her, she asked me if I could get some bud.
How many times previously did you get weed for her?
It's only been like 3 times, the most. You ever been to her apartment? Like up the stairs, and that's about it. I've never stepped in her house. I've never seen the inside of her house.
As Dennis is talking, he notices detectives checking out his sneakers.
Like my shoes?
Yeah, Nikes.
Air Maxes.
What he wears into the station that particular day is this black Air Max shoe. And we took the aha moment to say, you know what, can you take off your shoe and I'm going to take a picture of your shoe.
Oh, my feet stink. I'm sorry.
Because the crime scene itself had imprint in blood.
The print that you found on the scene, what size was that?
That was a size 7.5 Nike shoe.
And what size is the shoe that we're looking at?
This is a size 7.5 Nike shoe.
Remember, detectives have had no luck matching those bloody shoe prints to previous suspects. So according to Gibbons, this is potentially damning if confirmed, but still not as conclusive as a DNA match to what was found under Amanda's fingernails. So Gibbons says they get Rosa Roman to agree to a DNA mouth swab.
Just, put your mouth, just rub that inside your lip.
Gibbons says he wants Rosa Roman directly tested in case that cigarette butt sample might somehow be contaminated.
Doing great. Under your tongue.
There's a really big difference between you thinking, hey, I think we got our guy, and you lining it up with the evidence.
This is a matter of facts.
So the day that this all happened, what happened that day?
So, Rosa Roman starts telling detectives his version of what happened the day Amanda was killed.
I brought her some weed.
Did she call you like that day? Or?
Yeah, she called me that day. She said, yo, can you give me a dime bag? She was not the one that came to the door. Like, the guy opened the door, he just said, yo, give me that, and that's it. And I went about my way.
What Dennis says is that this other guy was at the apartment.
I didn't bother saying anything to the guy. The guy looked suspect, like, he looked suspicious.
He answers detectives' questions about what he says the man looked like.
I'm 6 feet, so what do you think? 5'10", maybe? Oh, he's taller than you. Taller than me, obviously. Yeah. He has, like, dirty blondish hair.
Would you say white?
Yeah, he's white. Say he weighs, like, about 170, 190 the most. Almost 200 pounds.
And goes on to describe what he claims he heard while outside the apartment.
I'm listening to this guy's like, I want my money. I didn't give you this for no reason. Why would you do this to me?
That was the guy's voice?
Yeah.
You're asking him questions about the description of the man who made these comments from inside the apartment. Why are you asking him about that?
Because I want to lock him into a story. Will you be consistent with that story, or you go on another tangent?
So the guy said something to her like, I want my money. I didn't do this. I want my money. I didn't do this for nothing. For nothing? Right. Did you hear her voice? No, I didn't. I didn't hear nothing.
Rosa Roman is consistent, even though Gibbons says he is convinced Rosa Roman is making up his story.
That's all about everything I know, and I can't say no more, no less. You know what I'm saying? Truly, I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually helping you guys. You know what I'm saying? You're very helpful. Because you know what? Not too many people have told us that they saw the guy there, you know? So that's you're aces with me, you know?
I didn't have enough to arrest him at this point. I had to allow him to leave.
Thank you very much.
One interview ends, but Rosa Roman isn't done answering questions. 2 days later,
this picture is inside her apartment. You ever seen this room?
It's a photo of that whiteboard. What will Rosa Roman have to say when he's shown his name is on it?
And see right here, it says, Dennis was here. Dennis, thank you very much for coming in. Fine, dude. And you've been very cooperative with us, and we appreciate that.
Dennis Rosa Roman agrees to another interview.
I wish I knew more to help you guys.
Repeating the story detectives say they don't believe, that he never entered Amanda Plass's apartment the day of her murder after he claims some man answered her door.
I gotta give her some weed. It's like, well, she's busy right now, and I give it to him, he shuts the door dumb hard in my face, and that's it. It's like, okay, this guy's mad, and I'm about to leave, like, and I left. You know what I'm saying?
But Rosa Roman says that was long enough for the man to recognize him.
I feel like this guy's just gonna run into me one day and just like try to say something to me or hurt me or something, and that's when I'm gonna peel my ass to the police station. Like, yeah, is that because he saw you that day? Like, this guy knows what I look like.
But what Rosa Roman doesn't know is that Gibbons is expecting critical evidence to the case to come back at any moment. The results from his DNA swab.
You were asking about this picture, right? Yeah. I want to see.
So before that happens, Gibbons confronts Rosa Roman for the first time about that all-important whiteboard where it says, Dennis was here.
This picture is inside her apartment. You ever seen this room? First time I'm seeing it.
We said, first time I'm seeing it. And then, well, how about this? This whiteboard that's in the back room.
And see right here, it says, Dennis was here. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. I wrote my name on that. You wrote your name on that? Yeah. I remember that. I wrote my name on that.
So he's admitting to you that that's his name on the whiteboard.
You've told me all this time you've never been in an apartment, and now I got you in there.
So you signed Dennis was here.
Right.
You didn't put the date.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I don't even know why that's there. I don't.
Yeah. But you remember this dry erase board?
Yeah, I do remember.
Where was the dry erase board?
That was in the back of, you know, the door right when you come in.
Yeah.
It was right there, and
As he is confronted with the evidence, he shapeshifts. He manages to keep changing his story to try to ameliorate the facts in front of him. There are certain kind of people who can make up things on the fly and change their narrative based on the clues that are being given to them.
You say you never been inside her place.
Well, I have been in her house, but like, I just don't want people to like look at me like if I'm a murderer.
So now this is the first time that he actually puts himself in the apartment.
But you went in the apartment. How many other times have you been inside the apartment?
Twice. 2 times, that's it.
And what were they for?
To bring her weed and smoke the bone and sign this.
So the room that you were in were that back room?
The kitchen and the back room, that's about it.
The back room was where the whiteboard was.
So what are you putting together at this point?
I'm putting together at this point that he, in fact, had not only been in that back room, he'd also been in the kitchen at some point where the crime occurred.
Remember, Amanda had told friends she suspected someone had broken into her apartment, and Dennis says she had asked him about that.
You said that Amanda approached you about somebody breaking into her place?
Yeah. She asked me, like, yo, somebody came into my house. Do you guys know? And I was like, well, I really don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Now Gibbons suspects that someone was Rosa Roman. Then, a few minutes later, a huge development. The detectives get called to leave the interrogation room.
How much longer is this going to take? 5 minutes. All right.
Outside, they get the news the DNA results are in. Rosa Roman is a match for what was found under Amanda's fingernails. They soon drop that bombshell on him directly.
The DNA that was found under her fingernails connects you to her. You know what? It doesn't just get there.
Dennis is now thinking in his mind, how do I get out of this?
And what he tells them next totally flips the story on its head. He now claims he tried to save Amanda.
I know the murderer, and I tried to save her life.
What's he trying to do here?
He's trying to create a situation of why we have his DNA, why his DNA is possibly on her.
He's casting himself almost as the hero in this.
Yes, he is.
Well, why don't you tell us everything that happened in the apartment?
I know the murderer. That's all I know. I can't give you no more. I'm sorry. That's
You
it.
said he tried
I want a
to-
lawyer.
But
I want a lawyer.
okay.
Gibbons says asking for a lawyer stops the interrogation room recording immediately. So you don't see the scuffle that he says breaks out when detectives handcuff Rosa Roman and place him under arrest.
You don't have to be aggressive with me, dude. You didn't have to be that aggressive.
And then they have him booked. He's charged with first-degree murder. This is over 2 years after Amanda was killed. They tell you, we are making an arrest.
Yep.
What did you think?
Finally. Finally. You know, you always wonder why. Why?
Dennis, though, is admitting nothing.
What are you guys trying to do? Pin me for this murder, too? My DNA may be on her body, my DNA may be at the house, but you guys really don't know what went down.
But after he's transported from the Westfield Police Department to Chicopee, he's about to explain.
He demanded to speak to myself and Watson again. So he didn't come to the door. You actually went inside.
I went inside. I barged in.
Was the door open?
The door was unlocked.
As Rosa Roman tells them the newest version of his story, he now claims when he hears the commotion inside Amanda's apartment, he rushes in and fights the man he says was trying to kill her.
What do you see when you get to the kitchen?
I see the guy on top of her.
When you say he was on top of her, where was she at?
She was on the floor.
What are you doing?
I'm tussling with the guy, trying to get the knife out of his hand, and he's just like thrusting it forward towards me, and I'm like trying to back up, and I try to like grab Amanda, and she scratched me. Yeah, she got some skin off of me, but that's because I was trying to save her.
That's right. Rosa Roman now claims he tried to save Amanda's life. This is the key to his new story. His explanation for why his DNA is under Amanda's fingernails, even though he says he didn't kill her.
And after that, me and him were tussling, and the guy punches me in the jaw, and I run out the door.
And that's what his story was, that this guy is now following him around town. He's now being threatened by this guy because this guy doesn't want the truth to come out.
What did he tell you? Yo, you snitch on me, I'm gonna kill you. Just like that. Like, I know I killed her and that's it. It's done.
But now, Rosa Roman has to tell that story in court.
The trial of the man accused of killing 20-year-old Amanda Plass is getting underway today in Springfield.
And he says he can identify who Amanda's killer is.
Amanda Plass's parents sat hand in hand with Justice for Amanda bracelets on as they waited for the murder trial of their 20-year-old daughter to begin.
I think I broke down more so in the courtroom, just looking at him.
It's kind of hard to describe how it felt to see him for the first time. It's like a fever dream. Like, is this really happening? But my mind was not on him. My mind is on my sister.
When I was selected for the jury, it was surreal. It was definitely a bit of a, oh my God, what am I in for? The home that Amanda lived in was 2 houses from where my mother grew up and my grandmother lived. It just became very personal.
The evidence in this case will show that on Friday, August 26, 2011, Amanda Plass was brutally murdered in her home. Miss Plass was getting ready to go to work when the defendant came into her apartment while she was getting ready and stabbed her 6 times.
Prosecutors lay out their case against Dennis Rosa Roman. There are the bloody footprints in his shoe size, his palm print on the broken window, and his DNA under Amanda's fingernails. They argue that Dennis, and only Dennis, committed this crime.
1 set of bloody footprints. 1 major male DNA profile underneath both her right hand and left hand fingernails. 1 killer, 1 defendant.
They literally took us from A to B to C to D. They laid out every single piece of evidence. They correlated every piece of evidence to him.
In addition to the physical evidence, prosecutors also used Dennis's own words against him.
And she right here, it says, Dennis was here. Oh yeah, I do remember that. I wrote my name on that.
Each time he's confronted with evidence, he changes his story to fit the evidence.
I think it was important for them to see the 3 interviews because it showed Dennis as agreeing to some of the facts, denying some of the facts, and then coming around and changing his stories repeatedly.
But while the prosecution says the evidence proves Dennis's guilt, the defense argues that it isn't what it seems.
He was in her apartment when Amanda Plass was killed. He did not do it, but he knows the guy who did it.
The last story he told was that he was there with another man and he saw the other man kill Amanda, but he will never give the name because he was afraid the killer would kill his family.
And he tells you how many times he's afraid for himself, he's afraid for his family. Charge me, I'm not giving up his name. My name pops up, meaning if they capture him and my name pops up, he's gonna kill me.
Dennis's version of events kept changing over those 3 police interviews. In his final one, Dennis had a new detail for detectives, that the alleged killer was none other than his own drug dealer.
Your dealer went to her house?
Yeah.
Your dealer?
My dealer.
The 2 of you walk in the house together?
Yeah.
He had said he was there because he had given Amanda pot and she had not paid. So he said that the drug dealer killed Amanda and he saw it.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, why are you doing this? She I'm gonna get you your money. And I try to grab her, and she like grabs my arm, and he's just keep going and going and going and going.
What do you mean he's going and going? He's stabbing her?
Keep continuously stabbing her, and she just collapsed on the floor after I separated her.
Think she was dead?
I know she was dead. I was just thinking to myself, like, how do I get myself out of this?
The defense strategy was basically that the police should look further.
They continually brought up other people to say, well, it could have been them, or it was them, or it was this, or just to try to have a sense of doubt.
After 8 days of testimony, the fate of Dennis Rosa Roman now rests with the jury.
When we retired to the jury room to deliberate, we took a photo of Amanda. It was a close-up of her face with her smile, and we hung that in the jury room just so we could remember why we were there and what this was all about.
It was hard. You don't ever want to think of your best friend going through something that awful. And that was her final moments.
Yeah.
And then bringing that into the trial, it was just...
It's terrible.
It's terrible. To this day, it's just... there's no words.
After only 5 hours of deliberation, the jury reaches a verdict.
We were sitting in the DA's office in the break room, and next thing you know, you hear running down the hall that the jury came back.
Breaking news this hour, a guilty verdict today in the Amanda Plass murder trial.
The jury today found Dennis Rosa Roman guilty of first-degree murder.
We had a couple jurors who weren't quite sure. One of them wanted to review a bunch of evidence again, and his commentary the whole time was, look at him, he's lying, he keeps changing his answers. And we very quickly came to a unanimous decision that Dennis was guilty.
When that moment you felt?
Relief, definite relief. Now I can put an end to this chapter.
Despite a guilty verdict, there's still the unanswered question hanging over this case. And that's, why did Dennis Rosa Roman kill Amanda Plass in the first place? Dennis Rosa Roman has been found guilty of the murder of Amanda Plass. But the one mystery that still remains is motive.
I don't know why. There's only one person who knows why. And he never spoke, so that's definitely the hardest of it. There wasn't a bad bone in that child's body. She never did anything wrong to anybody.
Lieutenant Gibbons has developed his own theory as to why he believes Dennis Rosa Roman murdered Amanda. He says he learned during the investigation that there was a bag of marijuana inside Amanda's apartment left behind by someone else. Gibbons says investigators were never able to find that bag and suspects Dennis broke in looking to steal it.
Dennis is a low-level dealer in the neighborhood. My theory is that he wanted to steal that weed that was in the apartment, and Amanda was a victim of circumstances that she happened to be there when he arrived.
Before Rosa Roman is sentenced, Amanda's mother, surrounded by family, tearfully addresses the court.
On August 26, 2011, my world was forever changed. My pain does not end here, but my healing begins.
I think at that point, it was finally my time to tell him, you took something precious from this world, and I hope you never see the light of day again.
There is no amount of time that will ever bring Amanda back. I would like to ask the court to hand out the highest sentence possible of life without parole.
It's the justice Michelle Pena has spent more than 5 years fighting for.
Court is hereby sentence you to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution in Cedar Junction for the term of your natural life without the possibility of parole.
As you look at him and you see that he's getting life without parole, what emotions are going through you at that time?
It was a relief knowing that we were finally at another closing point.
Did you feel like justice had been served?
No, justice will never be served because she's dead and he's not.
As for those officers who snapped those photos of Amanda's body at her most vulnerable moment, the mayor of Chicopee released a written apology. Michelle also reached a resolution in the lawsuit she filed.
Plass's family sued the city of Chicopee and the police department. The lawsuit was settled for $110,000.
Michelle continued her fight and helped pass Amanda's Law.
The bill bans first responders from taking and sharing unauthorized pictures of crime victims.
For an officer to want, in that moment, to take a picture of a scene like that, it makes my stomach turn. My mom wanted to make it known that you're never doing that again.
Today, Michelle keeps Amanda's memory alive by sharing her story with college students.
This is about the path that I have taken, the path that has helped me to my healing process. I want people to know that the grief never goes away, but dealing with it or trying to deal with it or put a Band-Aid on it enough to get you through every day is what you have to do.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Oh, these are great. That's her and Brandon. Brandon is my son. See just how the happiness on his face and her big smile. I have always said that Amanda passing kind of saved my life because I knew that I wanted to make her proud. She really helped me become the woman who I am today.
She was just a very kind person and wanted to help the world be better, and that's just something I hope everyone can try to do, you know.
Do you feel like she's
Oh,
with
yeah.
you now?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
If you could have one more minute with her, one more second to say something to her, what would you say?
What she always said and what she always did. Keep your face to the sun and never look back at your shadows, just like her precious sunflowers.